FAA outage. U.S. airline regulators blame contractor for travel chaos. U.S. air safety officials say that the glitch that led to travel chaos at airports last week was actually caused by a contractor deleting files on a crucial computer server used by pilots. The Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) said the worker unintentionally deleted files on the Notice to Air Missions (NOTAM) database. The system alerts pilots to potential hazards on flight routes. They are required to check it before flights. Lawmakers vowed to look into the issue. More than 11,000 flights were delayed and at least 1,300 were canceled on the 11th of January after the NOTAM system went offline a day earlier. The technical issues mark the first time since the attacks on the 11th of September 2001 that flights across the U.S. were grounded. The FAA said that their contract employee, who was not identified, deleted the files while working to synchronize the primary and backup NOTAM databases. Why did FAA ground flights across the U.S.? Two planes nearly collide on U.S. airport runway. The agency has so far found no evidence of a cyber attack or malicious intent, the regulator said in its statement on Thursday. The FAA added that they were continuing to investigate the error. The system has been fixed, and the FAA has taken steps to make the NOTAM system more resilient, the statement said. The FAA had previously attributed the outage to a damaged database file. Last week, a group of Washington, D.C. lawmakers wrote to the FAA to say that the outage was completely unacceptable and demanding to know how it would be avoided in the future. FAA Acting Administrator Billy Nolan plans to hold a virtual briefing for lawmakers on Friday to discuss their concerns. Why did FAA ground flights across the U.S.? Grounding of domestic flights across the U.S. on Wednesday was caused by a relatively obscure system called Notice to Air Missions (NOTAM), a vital air safety tool. It is separate from the air traffic control system and warns pilots about hazards along the route. The system flags everything from flocks of gulls in a flight path to lawnmowers operating near runways. Pilots must check the system prior to takeoff. The system went down Tuesday night, prompting the U.S. agency responsible for air safety, the Federal Aviation Administration (FAA), to use a telephone hotline as a backup. But that was quickly overwhelmed as flight traffic picked up on Wednesday morning. The FAA gave little specific detail about what caused the NOTAM outage, but the White House said there was no evidence of a cyber attack at this point. How does NOTAM work? NOTAM was created in 1947 and initially was telephone-based. Until December 2021 the system was known as Notice to Airmen, but authorities changed the name to remove the gender reference and reflect the fact that NOTAM information is used by drone operators as well as pilots onboard aircraft. The system can be accessed via a portal on the FAA website. NOTAM messages are written in a jumble of abbreviations and warn about ongoing construction, non-operational safety lights or air traffic towers, and other nearby hazards. For instance, airspace aerobatic ACFTY, an area defined as 1 nm radius of FSOSFC 3500 FTDLY 1600-1700, indicates that an air show is taking place within a mile of Franklin County State Airport in Vermont. FAA investigates after two planes nearly collide on JFK runway. U.S. officials have launched an investigation after two planes full of passengers almost collided at a New York airport last week. The close call happened on Friday at John F. Kennedy International Airport, between a Boeing 777 headed to the UK and a Boeing 737 headed to the Dominican Republic. One plane was about to take off while the other was crossing the same runway. The collision was averted when an air controller noticed the two. Using an expletive, the air traffic controller attempted to stop the Delta aeroplane as it. Delta 1943, cancel takeoff clearance. Delta 1943, cancel takeoff clearance, the controller was captured saying in an audio recording made by LiveATC, a website that posts flight communications. The Delta Air Lines Boeing 737 then came to a stop on the runway, while the American Airlines Boeing 777 safely crossed in front of it around 20:45 Eastern Standard Time, 1:45 Greenwich Mean Time, said the Federal Aviation Administration (FAA). The FAA said the planes were around 1,000 feet, 300 meters away from each other when the Delta aircraft stopped. It has since launched an investigation into the near collision. The Delta Air Lines plane was carrying 145 passengers and 6 crew members on board, while the second aeroplane, from American Airlines, was carrying 137 passengers and 14 crew members. Brian Heel, a passenger on the Delta plane, told BBC's U.S. news partner CBS that the plane came to a sudden stop, which he first thought was due to a mechanical issue. There was this abrupt jerk of the plane, and everyone was sort of thrust forward from the waist, Mr. Heel said. He didn't realize his near miss until he later read the news on social media. The pilot made the call to only share information on a need-to-know basis, and that was absolutely the right call, because it would have been pandemonium, he said. In a statement, Delta Air Lines said it will cooperate with the investigation into the incident. American Airlines did not release a statement and referred questions to the FAA. The deadliest aviation disaster in history involved a collision between a Pan Am and KLM planes on the runway of Tenerife in Spain's Canary Islands. The 1977 disaster killed 583 people and injured 61.